See him a beast when you hear that sound like yeah, beat on the beat when you hear that sound like woo. Yeah, bitch and the champ only need one round like ha. Yeah, me, I'm a G-Ring, he in the sound like
Mike Owens here, today I'm joined by Nathaniel the Prospect Wood, who returns to action this Saturday, facing Fili at UFC London. Nathaniel, always a pleasure to get your time, mate. How are things with you today?
I'm very well, thank you, mate. Thanks for having me as always. And yeah, you said it, man. I'm back. It's been a year layoff, and mate, I can't wait, man. Couple more days, get this last little bit of weight off, which has been the easiest cut to date, and smash this guy up, get paid, mate. I can't wait.
Brilliant. I checked the record. I was actually quite surprised to learn it's only your third UFC London card. It feels like you've been on every single one since you joined the promotion. How does a London fight week compare to a foreign fight week?
Mate, it's the best. I literally stay at home. I go to the hotel, obviously, to do my media obligations, but it's 40 minutes from my house. So, I go home, walk the dog, life just goes on as normal. So, mate, if I'm honest, I'm spoiled. I've got my own bed, my own comforts. I've got all of the kind of the things that I would want to have with me on fight week. I haven't got jet lag. I haven't got to deal with, going to supermarkets in a different country and trying to buy food for the week and that sort of stuff. So, mate, I love it. Obviously, I had two fights which I was meant to be on at London, which one got cancelled with my opponent pulling out, and then one, obviously, I got injured a month out. But yeah, mate, I'm buzzing. I'm obviously on a win streak when it comes to London, and I look to repeat that this week.
I love it. Talking about your opponent, Fili, a UFC veteran in many ways. Been in the promotion, I think, over a decade now. But I think I checked the record, hasn't had back-to-back wins since 2019, and they've alternating wins and losses over the last couple of years. Where do you think he is in his career as an upcoming opponent?
So I do think Fili is very talented. Maybe doesn't get enough credit, but I feel like he's that guy that's always tough. He's a good matchup, but he's not championship material. Now obviously I only say that, I don't say that out of disrespect. I say it because of look who he's fought. He's fought the best of the best, but he's lost to them. He's never kind of, he fought Max Holloway, but obviously that was back in the day, though. That was a long time ago. But he's obviously a great fighter. He's very talented, and he can hold himself in the UFC. It's tough to get in the UFC. It's even tougher to stay, and he's been there a very long time. So it shows how talented he is, but obviously he's not ever kind of gone any further than that sort of, top 10 position. So, he's built up a name for himself. He's got a good team around him. He surrounds himself with the right people. So, he'll be a great win on my record and a step in the right direction. So, I'm looking forward to the fight, and I'm a fan of him, mate. Before we got matched up, I've always been a fan of him. I like his style. I like his persona, his personality outside of the cage. So, I look forward to getting to throw down with him.
100%. With that being said, as you mentioned there, is this one of those fights where it's about getting that name on your resume and being, as you mentioned there, in that company of the guys who have beat Fili? Because as you mentioned, it's not a huge list, and all those guys are of that top 10, top 15 kind of ranking or even higher.
So for me, I like the style of the matchup. That's why I've always kind of wanted to fight him. But, I just want whoever the UFC give me, man. Obviously, I want a top 15 guy. I want to get ranked. But I know Fili's not top 15, but a good win over him, I'd like to think that would get me ranked. I'd be on a 3-win streak at featherweight. And he's a top fighter. He is. He's a very recognized name. He's got a big following, obviously, on his social medias. So a win over him, I'd like to think I'd get ranked. But yeah, he was just the name that the UFC gave me. And stylistically, it's a great matchup. It's a fun matchup. It's something that makes training exciting. Sometimes when you're training for these kind of wrestlers or, these kind of, they're a bit boring sometimes, the training camp. So, with Fili, it's exciting. He comes to bang. He's well-rounded. I'm not going to sit here and say he hasn't got wrestling or anything like that. He's more of a striker, I think. But, it's an exciting fight, mate. So, I'm looking forward to it. But, me, mate, whoever the UFC give me is who I accept.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you mentioned their camp, because I was I've been having a little bit of a look at your Instagram and specifically all the S&C work that you've been doing. I think there's a new S&C coach, if memory serves. Seeing all the plyometric work you've been doing. I was watching a couple of days ago all the ball work that you were doing with the various ball exercises. So what have been the specific changes that you've made in this camp?
So if I'm honest, mate, since moving up away, I haven't necessarily changed my camp too much, but I've completely changed my recovery process. I can eat now, I can replenish, I can go training and go to strength conditioning, and I can afford to put on some muscle, So before, with my strength coach, we would have to be very strict on what we're doing. We can't afford to put any muscle mass on, because if we put any muscle mass on, you've got to lose it, and you've got a big weight cut. Now I can go training. It doesn't matter. I don't have to worry about the weight as much. After the training, I can have a protein shake. I can get all of the right nutrition in. And I'm able to not have to overdo the training, because sometimes there's times where at bantamweight, I would be overtrained. I know I'm overtrained. I need a day off, but I can't afford to, because I need to burn calories. Now I'm able to go, do you know what? I'm resting today, or I'm going to miss tonight's session and I'm just doing one, not out of being lazy, just out of pure listening to your body and knowing what's right. Because, when it comes to fighting, you've got to hit your peak at the right time. And I think too many fighters they're at their peak all year round. And come fight night, they've got no second gear. They've been in that same state the whole year round. Whereas with me, I kind of hit the nail on the head now, where I know when I'm peaking. I keep track of all my numbers. This is my OCD kicking in. I keep track of everything. And I know now I'm at my peak. So it's just at the right timing. I'm not drained. I'm fresh. I'm ready. I'm fight week. I'm feeling good. I've got a bit of weight to lose still. And then, the fun part. And I know for a fact that come Saturday night, I'm going to be on my A game. And I think that's where things have slightly changed. We're able to train smarter. Not necessarily just training hard to burn calories now.
Yeah, no, and that's fantastic to hear. And that was kind of the next point I wanted to mention is it's going to be close to a year to the date of your featherweight debut against Charles Rosa. I don't know if you saw this, Nate, but I can specifically remember there was a lot of skepticism around your move up to 145 about whether you'd be, a little bit too small for the weight. When you look back now, going into your third fight at 145, how much do you feel like the move up has paid off?
Massively, because I actually see advantages of me being the smaller guy. I've got the speed advantage. So a lot of guys, what they think is it's power and, strength and size, and the bigger guy wins the fight. Now, we're only talking a couple of kilos here. So, I think Charles Rosa had a couple of kilos on me. Charles Jourdain had a couple of kilos on me. What did that do for him? Absolutely nothing. But what it did for me was it meant that I was a lot faster than them, and my reactions were a lot faster, because, when I'm training with flyweights and their speed is phenomenal, when you go up another, from flyweight, obviously, to featherweight, 10 kilos, that 10 kilos, they slow down. So, I'm used to training with guys that can hit so fast. And when I'm in the cage with these guys that hit nowhere near as fast as them, now I'm in the matrix now. I can see things coming, I'm dodging, I'm slipping, I'm sliding, and, I'm able to counter a lot easier. Yes, if they get to the grappling exchanges, they will have a couple of kilos advantage. But if I can't handle a couple of kilos, man, I shouldn't be in there with that guy. I'm training with high-level black belts every day in jiu-jitsu. I'm training with high-level wrestlers. I don't go to them before we spar. Hey, bro, what's your weight? You're 3 kilos heavier. Nah. You train, you spar. I train with guys that are a hell of a lot lighter than me, and they piece me up in training. I train with guys a lot heavier than me, and I smash them up in training. It's not all about the weight, but what it is about now is, so Fili's got a 10-hour flight and 8 hours time difference. He's going to be drained. He's going to be jet lagged. He's now got to cut weight as well as all of that. He's got to deplete his body, run himself down. I'm fresh. This is the great thing, people always say that the size is the advantage, but what about the other things that you're not taking into consideration? What about the whole of this week, I'm sleeping like an absolute baby because I've got proper food in me. I've got proper, nutrition going into my body. I'm able to sleep. I'm able to be sharp. So, Touch wood, I don't jinx it at the moment, mate. Everything's going so smoothly that yeah, I think come Saturday night it's going to be a very easy night in the office for me.
Weight cutting is obviously a massive part of the sport. Let's be honest. You could argue it's depending on your perspective, it's a massive problem in the sport. Do you think some people will look at your decision to move up and to be the smaller but the faster fighter, and as you mentioned there, not deplete your body in the way that you previously have? Do you think it might be a trend that might some people might follow?
If I'm honest, mate, I hope so, because it's dangerous, man. You know, it really is. And there's a couple of guys, I won't mention names, but who I used to train with, and their kidneys are mangled, mate. They get kidney failures and, you know, all sorts of horrible things, which they're putting down to all the weight cuts. You know, these guys I'm talking about are a lot older than me. They're not fighting anymore. People have died doing weight cuts, you know, and mate, I made my featherweight debut on Bellator, which was 7 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember thinking, I need to move up to this weight. I won my fight, didn't have any problems, but I got opportunities at bantamweight. You know, I got offered Von Lee, who was a UFC veteran, beat him, got the Cage Warriors title, and I kind of got forced, if you like, to stay in that category. But I've known for years that, you know, it's not about the size all the time. And, you know, of course, you have your advantages and disadvantages in going up and down a weight, but it's all how you train and deal with it. And at the end of the day, it's a fight. So I could cut down to flyweight probably if I really wanted, but that doesn't mean I'm going to win at flyweight. You know, it's not, they don't go, hey, you cut more weight, here's a title. So, you know, I think fighters should copy what I'm doing and be happy, man, because at the end of the day, if you fight, let's say, 3 times a year, you know, maybe 3 times a year. If, you know, my fight camps used to be 6 weeks out, is pretty much agony from that point on. You know, you're just not happy, you're not enjoying it, you're starving. Other than one cheat meal a week, you know, every day you're just suffering. So 6 weeks, 12, 18 weeks of the year, if I fight 3 times a year, that's 18 weeks of my life every single year that I'm going to despise doing what I'm doing. And that's the reason there's no point in doing it. You know, I may as well go and get a job. You know, I started this sport because this is what I wanted to do with my life. This is what I have passion for. I love competing. I love fighting. I don't love cutting weight. And if there's something that's just making it not enjoyable, you know, what's the point in doing it? So, yeah, time to go up a weight, which I did. And, you know, I think the performances speak for themselves. And, you know, I trust in the coaching and the training that I put my work in, that I can handle myself with people, whether they've got a kilo or 5 kilos difference, you know, and the size. I prefer being the smaller guy, you know. So Andre Fili's 5'11", great. You know, I prefer fighting taller guys. So, you know, I'm happy with that.
I love it. I love it. Life's too short, mate. Completely agree.
Exactly.
Obviously, you originally matched up in March. The cancellation you mentioned with Lerone Murphy. I'm sure you get a lot of this these days, but what is your level of interest in potentially rebooking that fight against the fellow Brit?
Not bothered. Honestly, mate, not bothered anymore. You know, I wish him all the best, but, you know, I'm not going to mention names until I get this fight done, because I don't want to be disrespectful to Andre Fili, obviously. But in my head, I'm going to knock him out. And then I've got a couple of list of names that I want to get, but they're way above Lerone Murphy, you know. So whether I get these names or not, I don't know. But, you know, I wish Lerone all the best. And if we get it on in the future, so be it. But, mate, I'm past that, man. He's had enough, you know, attention off me and stuff, you know. I'm on to bigger things now.
Understandable. Well, you've just given me a prediction there for the fight. You said that it's going to end in knockout, so I won't ask you for a prediction. What I would like to do instead, TKO. What
I think it's going to be a TKO in the second round. I feel that he's going to try and scrap with me. I feel like he's going to start to fade and start shooting him for takedowns, and I think I'm just going to TKO him, man. That's what I've envisioned in my head. And maybe if not, might guillotine him or something, man, because I feel like he's going to get sloppy with takedowns. So
what I would like to do instead, Nate, that's fantastic. But what I would like to do, and you can answer this question as briefly or as in depth as you like, give me a walkthrough of the perfect day on Saturday. So what happens when you wake up in the morning to when you go to sleep at night?
I'm so sorry, mate. You cut up then for about a second. Can you rewind 3 seconds?
I was just going to say, what happens in a perfect world on Saturday? What happens from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep?
I wake up with a good night's sleep, nice bit of breakfast, I don't like to eat too much on fight day because I like to just, you know, let everything digest from the day before. I walk my dog in the morning, you know, go and give him a little run, go and get a little stretch out on the legs. I'll probably go to the gym and just have a little mobility session, you know, maybe a little shadow box, something like that. Envision my hand getting raised, all that stuff. Give the missus a little kiss goodbye, go to the venue, walk out, hear that electric crowd, you know, hear London just, you know, going crazy, obviously, as always. You know, it's always a good atmosphere. Get in the cage, get slapped by Brad to get me pumped up, and then smash this guy to pieces, man. You know, I want to. The last 2 fights I played it safe, and I want to now, you know, show people that I'm not just handling myself in the featherweight division, but I can actually be a problem. And you know, I think a win over Andre Fili, especially a finish, would prove that. And then after, I'm gonna go home, have a cup of tea, probably order a pizza, and chill out, mate. Let it all blow over.
I love it, mate. Look, it's fantastic to see you back in action. It really is. It feels a little bit too long since that Charles Jourdain fight all the way back in September. So I wish you the best of luck for Saturday night. Enjoy the rest of the fight week, and know that I'm supporting you all the way from the north of England, my friend.
You're the man. Thank you very much, mate, for having me as always.